You are listening to Mostaccioli Murder, Book 1 of the Jade Sommer series, written by Nicolette Pierce. Copyright 2020. Audio copyright 2025 by Pierced Heart Publishing. Digitally narrated with full cast of voices. Chapter 21. I pushed through the crowd to get to Mr. Lee's. The line streamed down the sidewalk and wrapped around the corner. I had planned on helping, but this was ridiculous. If this was what the early bird crowd was like, it would only get worse for the dinner rush. The crush of people inside was intense. The restaurant had never needed a hostess, but the amount of people crammed into the space made it nearly impossible to move. If this continued, the online reviews would be scathing. I found Mr. Lee, Lily, Aunt Dot, and Mom in the kitchen. All were wide-eyed and rushing to get orders filled. Kobe was washing dishes. "Are the servers here?" I asked.
Yes,
Aunt Dot called.
but they've lost control of the dining room. Ross and Mila are in there somewhere, too.
"I'll handle it." I wasn't sure exactly what to do, but I had to herd the crowd out of the restaurant. "Do you have a notepad and pen?" I asked Lily.
Look near the register.
I pushed through the diners to get to the register. Digging through the drawers, I found a notepad and a pen. I then crawled up on the desk and yelled, "I'm coming through with a wait list and will ask you for your phone number. I will text you when a table is ready so you don't have to stand and wait. I hope this is acceptable. We will do our best to accommodate everyone, but we ask for your patience. If you want a to-go order, I will take that at this time as well." I hopped down and began taking names for the wait list as I worked my way through the crowd. Eventually, the restaurant cleared to only the diners sitting at the tables. I then headed through the line of people standing outside and gave them the same announcement. A few were disgruntled, but most were okay to wait as long as they didn't have to stand in line. Once the to-go orders were in the kitchen, I began helping with refilling drinks and bussing. With all of us working, we were able to manage, but only barely. If this was going to be a nightly problem, there would be issues. Hopping from station to station, I kept up with the customers coming and going. And eventually we hit the first lull in the night that promised we were nearly done. A flash of platinum blonde ran past the window, catching my attention. A few moments later, I heard a high-pitched scream. I dashed out the door and down the sidewalk. Someone was standing over a blonde woman who was flat on the sidewalk. The hood covered the attacker's face, but it didn't cover the fact he was looming over her and reaching down to grab her. Rushing at him, I plowed my shoulder into his back, knocking him forward. He wheeled his arms, trying to balance. I braced myself, knowing he wouldn't be scared off easily. He glanced back at me as I stood in a defense stance and pretended I was ready for his attack. He paused for a moment before he turned and bolted. My knees threatened to buckle in sheer relief. I sank down to the blonde who was face first on the sidewalk. Not detecting any blood on her, I gently brushed her hair away to see if she had any wounds. I only saw her profile, but she looked familiar. Sommer? Who was trying to attack her and why? Was this attack somehow connected to Wayne's death? Until Sommer regained consciousness, I'd have to wait for answers. This time I pulled out my phone to call dispatch, knowing if I called Logan one more time he'd lock me up for being a hazard to his mental health. Before I made the call, Sommer groaned and pushed back from the sidewalk. Flipping over, she blinked up at the night sky.
What happened?
"You were attacked. Are you okay?" She stared at me for a moment.
I think so.
"Do you know who attacked you?" She paused a moment before saying,
I don't know.
"Do you know why he attacked you?"
No.
"I'll call the police." She shook her head.
No, I'm fine.
"They'll want to know about this."
I'm not hurt, and I have nothing to steal.
I wasn't so sure she should just let it go without talking to the authorities. Can you stand? I asked.
I think so.
She sat up and then slowly rose to stand. Why don't you come sit in the restaurant with me for a few minutes? She looked as if she wasn't sure, but then nodded. I brought her across the street to Piatto Perfetto and unlocked the restaurant door, flipping on the dining room light. Once she was seated at a table, I texted Ross to handle the hosting until I returned. Can I get you something to drink? I asked.
Water, please.
Heading to the kitchen, I filled 2 glasses with water. I also dug through the funeral boxes to find the cannoli. I plated 4 and brought everything back to the dining room and placed it at the table. I sat down across from her.
What happened to your window?
Drive-by shooting. Her eyes widened.
There's been so much violence lately. First Wayne, now this.
I think the 2 are connected.
Really? How?
I wasn't sure how much I wanted to tell her, but at the same time, maybe if I told her what was happening, she'd be able to fill in some of the missing pieces. Wayne stole a vase and then sold it to a pawn shop. But something about the vase is important. People have been looking for it. People willing to kill.
For a vase?
Yes, I found the vase at a pawn shop. Someone must have found out. She glanced around her.
Where's the vase now?
The police have it.
Oh, I suppose that's good. Then they won't look for it.
That's if they know the police have it. And if they don't know, who will they attack next? Wayne was killed. Jalen's apartment was broken into. My parents' apartment was broken into. The window was shot out. Someone else is in hiding. One of his friends is dead. And now you were attacked. It just seems too coincidental, don't you think?
I didn't realize. What would be so special about the vase?
I don't know. I'm hoping to find out.
How? You don't have it anymore.
True, but I took pictures of it. It might lead to a clue, but I'm not too hopeful about it.
Can I see?
I supposed it wouldn't hurt. I pulled out my phone and brought up the pictures. I handed the phone over to her. She looked at the pictures.
Why would people kill over this?
I'm not sure. Did Wayne ever mention it before? She shook her head. So much for putting the puzzle pieces together.
Maybe Jalen knows.
I'll see her tomorrow, but I don't think it's an appropriate time to question her about it. I was actually looking forward to meeting Jalen since she kept herself so distant. It made me curious about her. And although I was nosy, I also knew this was a hard time for her. Even if Jalen and Wayne were cheating on each other, that didn't mean they were without feelings.
Why are you seeing her tomorrow?
Wayne's funeral.
Oh?
You didn't know? She shook her head.
No, but I wasn't planning on going anyway.
That made sense. If I was in her shoes, I probably wouldn't go either.
I should go home.
Let me walk you back to your apartment. She shook her head.
No, I don't want to put you out. But thank you for the offer.
Are you sure? I don't want you to get attacked again.
I'll make sure to pay attention this time.
She stood and walked to the door. Wait, I said. I need my phone.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She said, handing me my phone.
I guess I have a lot on my mind.
If you ever need to talk, you know how to find me.
Thank you.
I followed her out and watched as she walked away, getting swallowed by the nighttime crowd. It wasn't until I couldn't see her any longer that I realized she was walking in the opposite direction of her apartment. If I had been attacked, I'd want to rush home to safety. Where was she going? It was the next day, and we were assembled at the funeral home. As Mom, Aunt Dot, and I waited in line to give our condolences to Jalen, I tugged at the hem of the dress Mom had loaned me. None of my clothes were appropriate for a funeral. Mom and I were not the same size. Her slim, petite frame nearly made this dress inappropriate for me to wear as it clung tightly.
Stop fidgeting.
A familiar voice said behind me. I looked back to find Logan. He wore a suit and tie and looked damn good. He had even shaved his stubble, making his jawline that much more striking. "What are you doing here?" I asked.
Paying my respects.
"Or looking for a killer?"
Maybe both.
Interesting. Did he have a lead? Since it wasn't a good time to press him for information, I followed the line as it moved closer to Jalen. Logan maneuvered around me and through to the waiting area, skipping Jalen. Did he not want her to see him? If so, he shouldn't have worn such a delicious suit. I was sure half the guests were eyeing him. Standing behind my family, I waited as they gave their condolences to the widow. Jalen wore a black dress that accentuated she was about to burst with a newborn soon. Dark crescents shadowed under her eyes, drawing the focus to her pale face. Her dark hair was pulled back in a functional ponytail that hung limply down her back. A little girl clung to her leg, but I didn't see her other children. Perhaps they were already sitting inside. When it was my turn, I gave her the standard, "Sorry for your loss." Her gaze hardened for a moment before she blinked, and the look was gone.
"Thank you,"
she murmured. Then she looked to the next person in line, indicating she was done with me. I moved forward and followed my family to the seating area. Picture collages were stationed around the room. Interested, I wandered around the room, looking at each picture and noticing that Logan sat at the back of the room not talking to anyone, even though a few come-hither glances were thrown his way. He was here to work. The realization sent a thrill through me. Could the killer be here? I continued wandering and scanning the pictures, seeing the happy people who smiled brightly. Wayne, bouncing a baby on his knee while surrounded by kids. Jalen and Wayne's wedding picture. Them at a beach. All the pictures showed a happy, devoted man, and yet the truth was quite different. I walked to another set of photos that were less of family and more of him in his younger days with friends. My gaze stopped at a picture. It was of Wayne, another kid near his age, and a blonde girl. She looked exactly like a miniature version of Sommer, but how was that possible? Sommer had said she'd met Wayne when he delivered her pizza. This shows that was a lie. Discreetly snapping a picture of the photo, I glanced around me to make sure no one had seen. My gaze landed on Logan, who eyed me with a raised brow. Busted. Why did he have to be so observant? I took a seat next to my mom, finding Nana had joined our group. She sat just behind us with Walter in tow. She leaned forward to whisper to me,
"If you're wearing that dress to catch Logan's eye, mission accomplished."
I turned slightly to whisper back. I borrowed the dress from Mom. I'm not looking to get lucky in it, especially not with Logan.
"Because you're engaged?"
She questioned, looking pointedly at my barren ring finger. Yes, and because Logan proved he wasn't for me when he cheated on me. A figure that was walking past us paused in mid-step. I glanced over to see Jalen, silently cursing myself for not being more aware of my surroundings. I turned to her to apologize, but she hurried to the front of the room where a closed casket sat on a stand. Did she hear me? I whispered to Nana. Nana gave a tiny shrug. I'd have to talk to Jalen after the service, but for now I had to wait while the guests were being encouraged to take their seats.
"Where are Ross and Kobe?"
Ross is bringing the food. Kobe is with Mila working on branding and video ideas. Aunt Dot hushed us.
It's starting.
I looked to the front, where Jalen sat down in the front row. The kids piled around her. A blond man in a polo shirt and dress pants walked in just before the service began. He gave a nod to Jalen before taking a seat in the back row. I wouldn't have noticed the brief exchange had Jalen not turned her head to follow his path. Aunt Dot was glaring daggers at him. It made me study the newcomer with a different eye. Who was he? Suddenly, the funeral got a whole lot more interesting.